items just so that we can try to get back on schedule here. So first we're going to do the Board of Health. Hi, Nicole. Welcome.
Ms. Hendrickson couldn't be here. She's with Representative Sorensen at a meeting.
Okay.
So I just want to get a brief overview. The Board of Health packet is in your minutes, I believe. It's in your agenda packet. So for the May Board of Health packet, there was a presentation by U of I Extension on Tri-County food systems. This aligns with our current community health improvement plan. We also had a discussion on the FY 2026 budget discussion. Dr. Brewer appointed 3 Board of Health members to work on the budget with Director of Finance Brian Bully as the Board of Health can work through the budget and get oversight before it comes to the county for approval. We also reviewed the general schedule for budget planning at the meeting. Ms. Hendrickson also reviewed all the PCCH grants for the Board of Health members. Our grants come in about 65 to 70% of our total budget, and the next highest being the levy, which is around 20%. Our epidemiologist, Ms. Nunn, reviewed our 2023 Peoria County mortality report. Life expectancy was 75 years, which is comparable to previous years, and heart disease and cancer are the leading causes of death. Some projects we're currently working on is the Community Health Improvement Plan, which will begin in 2026 in January. Increase access to behavioral health, decrease suicidal thoughts, behaviors, increase knowledge to navigate the behavioral health system, and food insecurity for youth. We're also working on our strategic plan. We have 3 work groups for the strategic plan. We have mental health, public trust, and workforce development. Specifically, the workforce development group is working on developing a workforce development plan for the agency. Our August Board of Health meeting, we will also be taking from that workforce development group recommendations for management compression information for that group and our recommendations. There's building and facilities update. We're currently working on 2 lists. One is just the general contractual obligated list that we're trying to finish up. The other is those items that being in the building for the first 6 months, kind of items that we've discovered. A few things such as, well, HVAC unit and rooftop. Mm-hmm. And then others are just like lighting sensors, low voltage security, flooring exhaust upgrades for the corners area. And then OSF dental area, we expanded the intake area for visual and safety concerns. And that is all I have, if anyone has any questions.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Yes. Jennifer.
Which one? The list for the... So the big items are the HVAC and the rooftop units. And then others are lighting sensors. Just, it's walking in a room and they're not coming on, things like that. Low voltage security, flooring and exhaust upgrades for the coroner's office. And then the OSF dental area, they did a small expanded intake just for security and visualization, intake area adjustment.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks.
Next we have care and treatment. EMA's here. EMS. EMA.
Big difference between us.
There is.
Yeah, thank goodness. You don't want me in EMS. Right here. So you should have, since we didn't have a meeting last month, I did submit something for June. But as you go through the reports I've submitted, you'll notice that, as I've stated in the past, we're back to plain emergency management and no longer responding to a large-scale infectious disease outbreak. So you see significant events, primarily, obviously this time of year, weather-related things sometimes pop in there. We do excuse me, quite a bit of planning for the Red, White, and Boom, or the 4th of July Festival in downtown Peoria. We've probably talked about before how we utilize that. One, it's a large scale event in our community, so huge risk, potential threat and hazard for us. So Peoria's fire department, but law enforcement's involved with it. The Illinois Civil Support Team does air monitoring. It's a big collaboration with our community partner across the river. So that's probably the largest significant event, obviously, that we've been planned for and dealt with. You see meeting attendance is primarily just a lot of the same meetings that we've attended in the past, just again as a part of our organization, trying to build resilience, build relationships with partners. My role primarily at the Emergency Management Agency is to get in the room with people and tell them this could probably happen and work with them on what we can and cannot do to try to eliminate or mitigate that risk. You'll see some trainings, obviously some different trainings. As you look at the equipment, we've talked about the outdoor warning sirens in the past. I think I'm meeting this month. We're starting a work group to begin looking at what upgrades we may need with that system, primarily around the radio or the communications with it. But I'm happy or pleased to announce that as of today, all of the radio or all the outdoor warning sirens are working. We don't have any bad speakers. We don't have any bad amplifiers. We don't have any with a bad battery. So as of today, we're in good shape. We've been able to upgrade all of those and get those, just the general maintenance up. In the past, we've struggled to maintain some of them simply because we've had an issue with the supply chain and getting like the speakers. So we have a speaker go out, they can't get one. So that's something we're pretty happy with, and now we're back on pace with that. And then we did spend a little bit of the last couple of months. I had the opportunity to do an interview with WEEK regarding, as you know, there's a lot of funding issues for lots of different disciplines, but emergency management is not unique like public health. And so I had an opportunity to meet with them, talk with WEEK about we did receive our grants for our public health grants. City's Readiness Initiative, we were funded. We did take a reduction in our public health emergency preparedness grant. I think it was 27% reduction in that grant. And so that's what a lot of that conversation with a lot of individuals has been, just trying to maintain our funding. And then, again, I would just had conversations in the past couple of months with the county administrator and city manager with respect to our funding issues, and appreciate their support of our emergency management and public health preparedness program, and their assurance that if and when we see funding cuts, that they'll continue to work with us to ensure we can continue to provide the services we've been able to provide recently. So, questions for emergency management?
Any questions? Yes, Danny.
I'm not sure if this is the right place to insert this question, but Jason, do you play a role with emergency action plans inside of the county for our county facilities?
No. Like action plans, like for example,
Inclement weather, that type of stuff?
not, and periodically, county agencies will ask me for my input, but I'm not responsible for like writing the action plan for. In fact, I'm not even writing the emergency action plan for the new Health and Human Services building. Dr. McKenna was somehow Dr. McKenna was in the wrong meeting or drew the wrong straw, and he got assigned that role.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Don't forget, tomorrow's the Emergency Expo, right?
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
I thank you for reminding me.
Yeah.
So I apologize. So yes, tomorrow is the Emergency Expo, pending weather. And so thank you for reminding me. Last week, this will be our rain day. And I did have some email correspondence with the sheriff and Gretchen this morning, pending the weather tomorrow, that if we have to cancel tomorrow, we'll end up canceling. We won't reschedule. It doesn't sound like.
Okay.
Which will be actually the first year I think that's happened to us in a number of years this occurred, which is probably not bad considering. But we appreciate everybody's patience with us. With last week was hot, and then tomorrow the weather doesn't look too good tomorrow, which is probably a positive for us because it means it's going to be nice temperatures this weekend. So,
All right. Thank you. And that's 4 to 7 tomorrow
that's correct.
at Grand Prairie.
Sensory hour prior to it for individuals that may, lights. It's to work with individuals, children, people that have sensory.
Okay.
Thank you.
And just so people at home heard, that's the hour before is for sensory. All right. Thank you. Next, the ROE. welcome back.
Yeah, thanks. Ooh. It's not made for tall people over here. Want to thank everyone again for having us in to give a report. I know that everyone has been anxiously awaiting the introduction of Dr. Amy Smith. So Amy's going to stand over here and wave. And so this is Dr. Smith. She is our new Assistant Regional Superintendent of Schools. To give a little bit of a background, former teacher administrator at Dunlap. She was also the director of the National Board of Certified Teachers out of ISU. That's the position she held just prior to coming to work for us as our director of professional learning 3 years ago. And so she has graciously agreed to work with me and in the office as our assistant, and she's been fantastic so far. She'll continue to grow into the role here. So we also had Literacy Summit. You might have seen that on the news. We had 125 participants out at ICC. As per all of the Literacy Summits we had, the feedback is, can we make sure that we're doing this every year? Because it's such an important topic. And they go away with a lot of usable strategies for the classroom. We did submit our truancy grant, and we'll know about that sometime in September. Sometimes it's pushed to October, but we would anticipate that sometime in September we'll know whether or not we have a grant that will be awarded. We also submitted a Department of Justice grant to help continue our school safety work. And at the time, we were essentially submitting it because we knew our grant was going to come to an end technically in October. It's a federal grant, so that's their fiscal year. We were granted about 3 or 4 weeks ago. We were granted a no-cost extension. Essentially, we had some money left over, and so we asked for a 6-month extension to continue providing services, which was granted until last week when it was terminated, effective immediately. So we thought, who doesn't love school safety at the end of the day, and how important it is? And so we thought we were good, especially with the extension. We're able to wrap around some other grants that we have in order to sort of continue some services, at least in the short term. And so that's probably, I think that's the third position for which we've lost funding, either through a state organization, which was essentially giving us money to support a position, or one of our other local ROEs that we're fulfilling some services with. And so very lucky that we've been able to sort of keep all those folks on. We imagine at some point we'll be in a deficit spending situation, but until then, we're going to continue to provide services. So the next couple of things I'm going to highlight when we talk about how important it is for us to be at the HHS building and the connections that we get to make day to day there now. So we had our annual Peoria County Safety Day on July 25th on a Friday. On that day, Monica presents, Jason presents, Sheriff Watkins is there, Gretchen Pearsall is there to also present. And so it's a great opportunity with those new relationships that we're building to have other folks come in and talk about how they can support our districts and be a resource as needed. And we are also involved in the Emergency Expo. We have the truancy team, which Kara is going to talk about here. I don't want to take too much time because Kara has a lot of great information to give you. But they're also involved in the Emergency Expo. And the last thing I want to say is the HHS HVAC, situation that's sort of going on there. All I want to say is that they did a great job given the really difficult circumstances. Super responsive. Anytime that we needed anything, they were incredible. My office was the hottest part of the building. And in fact, one day I was coming a little bit late. It was like 2 o'clock. I had some meetings in the morning, and Brian Johnson's like, "Don't come in." He goes, "It's really hot in there." And so, but they did everything that they could do. And I could just step outside my door literally and sit at one of the other cubicles. And it was probably a 7 or 8 degree difference. And so they did a fantastic job. I know it was just a difficult situation, but from our end, dealt with it really well. And that's all I have. But I would like to turn it over to Kara because she's got some of the end of the year information, which is, I think, really powerful to help illustrate that importance of those funds that you're able to give us and how we are able to serve with those.
Thank you, George. Okay, so I had sent this end of year data in June. So we were really, really happy. We had 56% of the students that were referred to our program showed an increase or no decrease in their attendance from pre to post referral percentages. And that's really great for our students. So we were super excited about that. We had 572 students that exited the program. Again, super excited about that. That's a lot of kids that reached 80%. They have to have 80% attendance for 4 2-week cycles. So 2 months, essentially, that they have to have that 80%. And that's really hard for a lot of these kids. Some of them, by the time they're referred to us, they already have 30, 40 absences. We start taking them at 10 unexcused, but a lot of times we don't get them at the 10 unexcused. So, they've already created those bad habits. And so that's kind of what, our team really works with them on, creating those good habits and getting to school and getting up on time and those things. So we were super happy with 56% of them showing an increase and 572 exiting the program. So thank you for allowing us to do that. Also, this was our first summer working, and we were excited about that. And so I just kind of wanted to share a few of the things that we've been doing over the summer. We did the Because We Care walks with quite a few of our PPS schools, Glen Oak, Liberty, Lincoln, CT Vivian, Von Steuben, Harold B. Dawson, Franklin, Annie Jo Gordon, Elise Ford Allen, and Tree Wynn. We helped clean up the little free pantries and the little libraries at several of the schools. We painted them, cleaned them up, refilled them, stacked the books. We've been helping Valeska Hinton. We've been helping a few of their families get their littles up to date with their physicals and their immunizations. We've been taking the parents and the students, if they can't get to their appointment, we've been taking them. A few of them have allergies, so they need, what do they call it, a food allergy plan. So helping them get that from the doctor. So we've been doing that. And then this year we had one of our staff members, Paul Burse. He did a summer program with a few of his truancy program students, and it was great. It was so fun. He would, we have a van, we have the ROE van, and so he would get in the van every morning. He would go around and pick them up. He had a younger group, and then he had an older group. And he had 5 to 8 kids, just kind of depending, if they had something going on that day, then, mom would say oh, they can't come today. And he'd go around and he'd pick them up, and then they would just spend the day together. And so they did swimming. One day, Mr. Buck from Family Corps came over, and the little ones, they built robotic cars, and then they raced them. And then the bigs the next day built these mechanical arms, and they fought them. It was super cool. And they were powered by a syringe with water. And so they're in there trying to do their syringe real quick. It was super cool. They did writing every day. They did team building. Of course, they played games. And then I just want to read to you this real quick letter that Paul wrote about his program. And so he said, "This summer has been more than just fun. It's been meaningful. When I started this journey, my intention was simple: build real relationships, be a positive role model, and pour into every kid I came across. not just with words, but through moments that matter. I wanted them to feel supported, seen, and challenged in the best ways. We spent a lot of time focusing on life skills and social development. Excuse me. Things that don't always get taught in a classroom but are crucial everywhere else. We had open conversations about communication, handling emotions, respect, taking responsibility, and what it truly means to work as a team. The kids didn't just listen, they showed up. They shared, they questioned, and they learned from each other in ways that surprised even me. We didn't stop at talking. We built relationships through doing, whether it was on the basketball court, in robotics, flag football, or even during a good board game. We used those moments to practice patience, teamwork, strategy, and trust. Every activity had a purpose behind it. We also got out and explored together. A day at the zoo sparked conversations about nature and the bigger world. Swimming, learning golf, and catching a Peoria Chiefs game. It was fun, but also intentional. These experiences created shared memories and gave us chances to connect in different environments. My hope was for these kids to not just enjoy themselves, but to walk away with new connections to each other and to themselves. And watching friendships form between kids from all across the city reminded me that the heart of this work is always people. Every handshake, high five, laugh, and real conversation played a role in helping them feel safe, valued, and most importantly, like they belonged. This summer, we showed up for each other, and that made all the difference. So, they had a great summer. The kids seriously had a great time. One day he was like, I'm really sorry, but I had to throw you under the bus. And I was like, what? And he was like, they didn't want to go home. And I told them that you would be really mad at me and that you said I had to come back to work. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I'm okay with that. But yeah, so they didn't even want to go home. But the kids were great. And I mean, they had a great summer. And so that's what we've been up to. So we thank you. We had a great summer. And we're looking forward to continuing the school year tomorrow. PPS is back tomorrow, and so we're back at it tomorrow. So
Thank you very much for sharing that. That's means a lot. And the fact that they're able to do that during the summer is through the assistance that we provide to the truancy department. And I got to meet the truancy team at Beth's retirement party, and they are amazing. Truly, every single one of them that I talked to, they're all amazing. So thanks for everything.
thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
They love what they do, and we appreciate you allowing us to do it.
Yep. Does anybody have any questions for them before they go? Yes, Mr. Ricker.
Sorry, just a quick question. First off, thank you for the success and the outcomes that you've had in year one, which, that's what we want. We put the extra funds into the truancy program to do this. I guess looking forward, are there any top of mind things that you would say in year two, this is where we will adjust or tweak our focus to continue that pace or even speed up that pace of reducing truancy? And if it's not something you've got at top, maybe next month you could come back with here's what we're looking at in year two to adjust.
Yeah, I think out of our office in particular, there's a constant evaluation of the programs and the expenditures that we have going towards certain programs. And so there's always an evaluation in and out of how can we best serve. And so we will always sit down, and I know Kara and Christy and that team, they're constantly talking with each other. How can we do things a little bit better? When we talk about getting almost 600 students from a chronic absenteeism to at least where they're going to school 80% of the time, that's 100 kids per case worker that we have. And so the average caseloads and what they say is the most effective caseload is around 100. Ours carry somewhere between 150 and 175 at any given time. And so definitely, when we talk about how we can increase outcomes, we are always in a constant conversation about that. Can we give any ideas right now? No. But as we continue to sort of retool and consider what the start of our year looks like, we could definitely report back for you.
That's a good question. I think something for us board members to keep in the back of our minds is the level of support that we're willing to continue to give them. As the truancy numbers go down, it's going to be more difficult for them to get grants.
Yeah.
And since grants are going to be harder to get anyway, that's just something that we need to keep in the back of our minds is our commitment to this.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have sustainability.
Good afternoon. I feel like I need it a little closer than George did. It just feels fairly far away. I do have a number of updates, and it seems a little lengthier, I suppose, without June, but a lot of good work in the last couple months. So electronics collection, this month was a decision month, opted into the Consumer Electronics Recycling Act, as I've done previous years, opted into that at the end of February, and then we heard back on, I believe, the 16th of this month that we have a different management group. So we previously had MRM, now we have Dynamic, who I think I spoke to you previously about the difference between a clearinghouse that sort of organizes, and then there can also be recyclers that are the management group. Previously we had a group that organized. This time we actually have a recycler that's organizing these collections. So we did a deviation today so that we will have 8 collection sites. We can still change that back to a permanent site, but without Kusakowski and without a permanent site in place. It's been sort of a multi-phase approach. We've extended some of the items that are accepted at Goodwill. So that's great, and I hope to be able to present more information on that as we move forward. They are currently accepting televisions, just not CRTs. Also worked with eCycle up by town on Town Line Road, and then we have scheduled 4 collections in 2025, but for 2026 we will have 8. The first collection, you see the pounds listed there at 14,840 pounds collected, and that's pretty much on par for what West Peoria collected last year. I was expecting it to be more, and it was about 1,000 pounds more, and that's it. So that was posted at the end of April, which I guess I'll move on to the next collection, which is hazardous waste. We have the first of the landfill contract GFL collections this weekend. August 2nd at Expo Gardens, then we'll have 2 others, September 13th at Three Sisters and October 4th at Alpha Park. Those are a little different than the IEPA one that I've traditionally done in partnership with the IEPA. This one will accept latex paint, which is a frequent question that we get, but also expect the pounds to maybe be a little bit more, with latex paint being included. There are 4 newspaper articles that have been, most have been published. The Community Word will go out next month, but all the others have been. The Glasford Gazette, Limestone Independent, Weekly Post have all been published. And then last Tuesday did Greg and Dan Tuesday morning to get some word out about the collection events as well. We've had about 15 calls a day. Mostly people are looking for an appointment. No appointments are needed for these. The hours are 7 to noon. An additional collection that I have scheduled is the Unit of Local Government Tire Collection. Again, that's in partnership with IEPA, just requesting for that funding for our county. 12 units of local government have responded thus far with 980 tires, so anticipate over 1,000. And those will be collected at the middle of the month from our Plank Road location. So the way it works, the units of local government drop those tires off. ahead of the contractor coming to collect them. So they drop them off over the course of 2.5 days, and then the contractor comes and collects them. Of course, this is important for, avoidance of mosquito habitat and just something for a place for units of local government to be able to dispose of those. Generally, the cost is about $3 to $4 a tire for hauling and collection of those, so a savings of $3,000 to $4,000 to units of local government in Peoria County. Composting, that's one of the KPIs that's tracked in the budget. For 2024, we did 6.7 tons in just our 2 locations here internally for the county. This month, we're expanding to the community room and expanded that form that any community group or internal groups, the ROE uses the room a lot, and as do others in the building, will be able to compost food scraps from any event that they're having there. Beginning of May, we did some stuff to celebrate International Compost Week, and I'm not sure that was reported out at the end of May. So we did some residential giveaway. In terms of education, the school grant is on the website. It's been on the website for a couple weeks, and then the ROE has agreed to help push that out as well. We did extend the amount that is offered. And so far we have expended $2,000 of that grant. And schools can use it for composting, any bins that they may need, waste reduction activities that they have in general. So sometimes, it can just be simply getting some scrap bins in place. And we have extended it to be hauling. But with that, we're asking for sort of a sliding scale. So that they can know what the cost is, how much they're actually generating, to get a ballpark of what the cost will be going forward, so they can start to budget for it with some support from us. Recycle Coach is still up and running. The city's Recycle Coach widget will now fall into ours. Recycle Coach is working on that on the backside. And the next 2 sites that should be up very soon, and I wish they were up now, but didn't quite work out, is Peoria Heights and West Peoria are the ones that will be up very, very soon. Again, not just, with vacations, we have to rely on the Recycle Coach staff to sort of do some of the back end help too. Met with the mayor of Peoria Heights, Mayor Wigington, on expanded food scrap collection and their kiosk use. They were a rural recycling grant awardee a few years ago. So again, sliding scale on financial support for perhaps some of their restaurants. So working on that and attending their chamber meeting to identify some restaurants to participate in a grant with sliding scale compost hauling, food scrap hauling. I also wanted to bring note to the collection numbers for the GFL program and also at the transfer station. I could probably do this under landfill committee, but it's not where I put it. So the participation in the curbside recycling program is 1,015 participants as of July 23rd. Most of those were subscribers who went from just waste service to now recycling service. So it is 1,015 people who now have twice a month at least recycling collection that previously may have had waste collection. GFL said it's about an 80%, 20% new customers all over, and 80% conversion from the waste collection to waste and recycling collection at that $42.50 rate. The transfer station and I shouldn't say the transfer station. I should say the Chillicothe transfer station, as not to be confused with ours that will be built later. The Chillicothe transfer station saw 1,679 participant users and 316 at Hopedale since April, when they started accepting Peoria County's preload program. That tonnage is on target with what was accepted at the city-county landfill. So people are making the trek to Hopedale if needed, but most of them are utilizing the Chillicothe transfer station. Township Supervisors Group did meet. I was not in attendance. The Health Department presented at that. The next location is to be determined, but will be the Veterans Assistance Commission, as there's a lot of overlap between the general assistance that's provided by townships and also the Veterans Assistance Commission. Landfill Committee, the notes are listed there. I think the things that I kind of want to call out are the Chillicothe Transfer Station hours did change to 4 p.m. Or staying open to 4 p.m. Again, the last load is accepted 30 minutes prior. Per the land, this will come next month. I'll work with Jenny and Scott on that. Per the landfill contract, Waste Management needed to have all buildings removed 90 days post closure. They did leave one small maintenance building. This went through Landfill Committee. They did leave one small maintenance building with plumbing for use of anyone who's at the landfill. And so, because the city and the county are the landowners, that will need to come to both the city council and the county board for approval. The lease agreement, I think, discussion on the solar lease agreement will come from Jenny. That was discussed as well. The August 6th meeting is canceled, and September will be the next meeting. I wanted to give a quick update on Regional Food Council. The next meeting is this Friday at St. Anne's Garden of Hope. The agenda will be sent out, the final agenda will be sent out later today. Hungry World Farm from Tiscawa in Bureau County is presenting, as well as there'll be discussion on the Regional Food Economic Development Plan and the food system roadmap that's reached completion. Also, CJ Harvest was discussed at our last meeting. That was our location for the last meeting. I know there's a lot of interest in that. They're still looking at a fall timeline for opening. The refrigeration contract, they ended up having to go with a different vendor. So there is still money. That grant is still there through the USDA. The DCO tech support is not in place. However, the Institute for Rural Affairs from Western is still providing as much technical support as they can. Before CJ Harvest opens, there is CJ Harvest Mobile in participation with Hy-Vee. So it's a mobile food truck that is going to 6 different sites, 4 Head Start and 2 after-school programs starting in August. And what has happened with that is that they are making use of the Hy-Vee procurement contract for fresh foods, as well as using some local farmers to get that food out to residents at a very low rate and taking the food to them. So this is just sort of a jump start to CJ Harvest opening and also a great partnership with Hy-Vee to be able to reach those school sites and their families. The sustainability update, the total usage for the first 6 months of the year will be included next month. It just wasn't, not all the Ameren usage was in time for committee. The juvenile detention solar array is in place. It's been operating, so between 6:28 to 7:29, just pulled the report today, 69.2 megawatt hours have been produced there. Keeping in mind that's through Illinois Solar for All and owned by Hocktola. That was a lot. Any questions on those programs?
Yes, Member Duncan.
I have a question in regards to the latex paint collection. What date and site was that again?
So they're all on the website, but the first one is this weekend, August 2nd at Expo Gardens, and the hours are 7 a.m. to noon. There's no appointment needed, so you can just show up. And then also the next one will be, there's one every month. So September 13th and October 4th are the next ones. September 13th is at Three Sisters, and October 4th is at Alfred Park.
Okay, and we can see that on your site as well.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
It's in our packet also. If you, It's page 21 of our packet.
Yeah.
Yes, Member Phelan.
Related to that, have Tim or Gretchen sent out a press release on that at all?
They've done social pushes. I don't know that they've done a press release, but they've done social pushes, and GFL was okay with that, and we could do that this week. I do have one other push that will go out from me to all past participants because we've used a registration software. We have everybody's email address to say, hey, this is going on. I can ask them to do that. We certainly have that from the one earlier this year.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Yes, Member Ricker.
I guess in the same line of communication, you mentioned the GFL rural pickup, like 80% of their people that signed up were existing. I guess my ask would be, let's try to communicate more so people know that that service is available at that price, because I think the landfill group committee did a really good job negotiating a good offer for the rural residents. And we just need to make sure that they're aware of it and they have the opportunity to take advantage of it.
Right. We do have another, there's another push that's going to be going out actually at GFL's cost. So we were working on that I meet monthly with GFL, when that will go out and who to target with that in terms of which areas are already participating the most. So when I sent the one that I sent, it was targeted around the landfill. Those are the people who are using the free load program the most. So we're going to do a targeted mailing again coming up on that as well. Yes, thank you.
I'm assuming that's something that was discussed with the township supervisors as well.
Yes, they are they are great at communicating to their residents as well. Any changes. The one thing that I didn't mention that I should have is that August 1st should be middle of August, I think, for the two drop-off locations at Chillicothe and then also at Pottstown. And those are up and ready to go. And are operational. We will do a press release around that once their signage is up. They don't have correct signage up. So it's kind of a soft opening on those and required to be in place, I believe, by the middle of August.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. And our last informational item, Center for Prevention of Abuse. Welcome back.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be back. This last quarter was, as always, a very busy quarter for the Ombudsman program at the Center for Prevention of Abuse. And part of your packet, you'll have just a bunch of raw numbers for some of our benchmarks. There's a couple things I wanted to give you some information so that you can maybe better understand a few things that we do. I had lived my whole life. I'm very active in the community. I'm a bivocational pastor, so I'm involved a lot in community affairs. And in my life, I had never heard of the Ombudsman Office. And it's just a fancy word for advocate. We go into the nursing homes and assisted livings and so forth to advocate for those residents. Some of them don't have family. The only way that they can get their will done is to have someone that will speak for them, and we're proud to do that. One of the things that we report to you every quarter is cases closed. What is a case? Well, it's any time we go into one of these facilities and we speak to a resident. We don't call them patients, they're residents. That's where they live. We speak to a resident and they tell us their complaint, and then they ask us to help. It could be something as simple as getting someone to pick up garbage that's been overflowing for 2 weeks in their room. A case like that can be opened and closed the same day. Sometimes we'll have a case that has to sit and be checked on every few weeks for months and months and months. And we don't close the case until that resident says that we can close the case. So that's why that you'll see a difference from month to month on these reports. We're at the will of the resident, and sometimes they add extra complaints. And then that referrals to other agencies. I kind of wanted to brag on that just a little bit. Many of those referrals come through our partnership with the Peoria County Board. How many of you have seen the new bus route? Isn't that beautiful? And we get calls, of course, that come in for our department, but we also get calls for people that ask all kinds of questions about elder problems, and we're able to refer these people over to other agencies, such as the Peoria County Health Department, to sometimes people at the county offices for things that they need. We refer to Prairie State Legal, Adult Protective Services, Illinois Department of Public Health, on and on and on. So we're very happy. These listed are only Peoria County referrals. Of course, we have a 6-county footprint, and I just wanted to point those two things out to maybe we've been at this now for a little while, maybe help understand what it is that we do. We have a lot of difficult things. This quarter has been very difficult. We've had some things that we would not classify as a success story. That's just the nature of the work. Our people are tough. They go to bed at night knowing they've helped, and sometimes we go to bed at night knowing that I wish we had been involved a little bit sooner. But there are successes. Every month, we met with a resident at a facility who had not received his personal needs allowance. These residents that are on Medicaid receive $60 a month to live on. All of the rest of their money goes to the facility. By the way, that $60 was just raised last year. For the past 40-some years, it was $30 in the state of Illinois. Our people, our ombudsman across the state, successfully petitioned to have the state raise that. We were the lowest state in the union for personal needs allowance. And we had a resident that had 35 cents in his personal needs allowance. He needed to buy toiletries, Advil for shoulder pain, and he wanted some Fixodent. And that would just about use up all of his needs allowance. He was served by a public guardian, of all people, and somehow his needs allowance had got looked over. And our people were able to successfully get a hold of that guardian and rattle the cages a little bit. And he was able to get his $60. They brought a check out the very same day. And some of these things may not seem life-shattering, but for someone who lives on $60 a month, it's life-changing. And we had a resident that complained the staff was getting him up at 3 o'clock to go to breakfast. I don't know about you, I'm a morning person, but I'm not a 3 o'clock in the morning person. And we were able to successfully speak with the administrator, and the administrator had a meeting with the resident, and the resident's now stating that he's enjoying sleeping in until 6 o'clock in the morning and not having to wake up and sit. Just a few of these things are just little small things. We had a resident that wanted to return home after receiving therapy, and the family didn't want him to go home. The facility didn't want him to go home. Well, why would a facility not want someone to go home? It all boils down to money. They're a steady source of income for that facility. Well, our people got involved. A cognitive function test was given, and that resident scored out the highest 15 out of 15. And the resident was signed up for classes on how to be able to take care of himself at home, and he was approved for Social Security, and had went all of his life and had not signed up for Social Security, and found out that he also qualified for supplemental security income. We got him all set up with that, He received counseling session, and he's been at home now for almost 3 months, enjoying his life outside of the facility. I'll give you one more. We had a resident that was in a skilled nursing center, what we would call a nursing home, that called our office stating that she was out of some of her needed personal supplies. In this case, it was Depends. And this was something these folks count on for personal dignity. The facility had run out of those products along with some others. And the director of the facility stated that they have an order, and the order was missed, and they're going to get them in sometime within the next week. And and our people spoke up and explained that, there's a really simple solution. There's a Walmart down the road that's less than a mile away, and couldn't they take some petty cash and go get some big boxes of Depends? And the administrator, it was like a light went on her head, and of course they like to keep us happy. They don't like us hanging around any more than we have to. They went out and they bought the supplies just that quickly. Well, why is it that these facilities don't just use common sense? That's a question, if I could answer, I wouldn't have a job anymore. But we're very happy to help. So that's just some of the ways that our partnership is really working, even more now than it did when we got started. So we appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much for that. Does anybody have any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we need to jump back up now that we have a quorum. And I need a motion to approve the minutes of the June 3rd meeting. Can I get a motion? Member Daly, Member Blair, any corrections? All right, please vote. Do we need to manually put that in? Are we good? Okay, fantastic. All right. Next, we'll move on to resolutions. The first one is the option to lease agreement for the solar development at the landfill site. Can I get a motion? Member Blair, Member Daly, Jenny? I believe you're going to fill us in on this one.
Sure, yeah. There is obviously the agenda briefing in your packet, but as a quick recap, the city and the county own the actual real estate that the landfill sites are located on. And while the IGA between the city and the county creates the committee, and the committee is the one who put out the RFP for solar development on the land at the landfill site that is unable to be used for landfill, a landfill itself. There's a lot of acreage out there. And so they put out an RFP to have solar development out there. And the documentation to finalize that is an option to lease with the solar development company. And because the city and the county are the actual owners of the real estate, we're asking city council and the county board to approve the agreement. After this piece is done, then the committee can go back to papering up the rest of the deal, and they'll continue to manage it as they do all landfill operations.
Any questions? Okay, please vote. All right, looks good. The next resolution is the appropriation following the execution of a revised and restated city-county landfill agreement. Can I get a motion to put this on the floor? Member Duncan, and second. Member Coates.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. If the members recall during both the FY25 budget discussion, the FY24 budget discussion, and the discussions that were being had as we renegotiated, or were negotiating, the revised and restated agreement for landfill 3. One of the revenue streams coming out of the agreement was a one-time lump sum payment of $300,000 from GFL to the county. The city also was a beneficiary of their own payment, and the landfill committee was also a beneficiary of their own $300,000 payment. So a total outlay by GFL of $900,000, split equally between the three entities. The discussion, after going back and looking at the minutes, centered on the position that is before you today, or I should say the spending authority for that position that's before you today, centered on the uncertainty of the timing of the landfill agreement and what the final terms and conditions of the landfill agreement were going to be. In talking with the board's landfill committee representative, which is Ms. Williams, who unfortunately can't be here today, my discussions with her and her comfort level were, once the agreement was finalized and executed, once landfill 2 closed, and once GFL made at minimum the payment to us, that the funding for the position would be secured. And so what is before you today is a joint resolution with finance because of the dollar values. It's a $300,000 budget amendment on the revenue side to recognize that payment from GFL. And then on the expenditure side, it's a budget amendment of $30,000 in wages and employee health benefits and that would cover the funding of that position for the remainder of the fiscal year. It then would be included as an annualized cost in the FY26 budget request. So happy to answer any questions of the committee. Ms. Cottrell is here as well. The agenda briefing attempts to give you a sense of not just that technical aspect of what I just explained, but also some of the things that this position would be doing. And we obviously heard a pretty lengthy report from Becca today on the things that her one-person department does.
Could you just briefly explain the funding source for the position and in the future, the fund balance reserve of that source and the limitations of that?
Yeah, sure thing, Mr. Chairman. So this comes out of the Solid Waste Management Fund. Revenues for the Solid Waste Management Fund are not taxpayer supported. They are supported by the tipping fees that are paid at the landfill or any other facility that's included in the revised and restated landfill 3 number agreement, i.e. the transfer station in Pottstown. And then obviously any interest income that is earned by the county treasurer's investment of the reserves. So those are the revenue sources. There's no property tax, there's no sales tax, no state shared revenues that's coming in to this special revenue fund. It is a special revenue fund, which means that it has restricted uses of the dollars that are in that fund, both in the annual appropriation and the reserves. And those are primarily dedicated towards almost putting the department out of business, because the point of the program and the way the statute is written is to reduce the amount of municipal solid waste going into our landfill, and we do that through education. We do that by trying to increase recycling rates, by having other programming like food scraps and whatnot, and then other eligible uses would include the implementation of the state statute mandated solid waste management plan that you've previously adopted and amended, which we have to do it's either 3 to 5 years. And then also the work of our own internal sustainability plan that the board has previously adopted as well, that makes us more sustainable. We also have within Becca's shop most of our energy efficiency programs. So Becca's been really aggressive and very good at getting funding from the various programs offered by Ameren to whether once upon a time it was lighting upgrades. We've pretty much done all we can do there. But any of the other energy efficiency grants that the utility offers, she tracks down, she applies for, and then we do a capital improvement project that's funded by that grant. So at a high level, Mr. Chairman, those are the sources and uses for the fund.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions about this? Yes, Mr. Rooker.
Just for clarity, the budget amendment of the $300,000 in revenue, looking for some clarity, I guess we did not include that in the 2025 budget because of the unsurety of the money, and now we're adjusting the budget for the $300,000 and for the expense. There's two things.
Okay, so right. So there's both a revenue and an expenditure a budget amendment. I would say we anticipated that this $300,000 was going to be in the agreement, but when you adopted the 26 budget, that the landfill 3 agreement had not been finalized and it had not been executed. While we anticipated it to be there, since that agreement was not executed, we did not include this as a revenue for FY25. And then, I would say, by way of comparison in terms of the two budget amendments, for those of you that are on Public Safety Committee, which I think are most of you, every time Becky brings a grant or a donation for PCAPS, there's a revenue budget amendment to recognize the revenue, and then there's an expenditure budget amendment to actually authorize us to use those dollars. Same case here, but we're only asking for 10% of the revenue that was received.
Any other questions? Yes, Member Daly.
Yes. Does the $30,000, does that include insurance and pension?
It includes the employer share of health insurance, should the person that eventually gets hired take our insurance. It does not include IMRF contribution or FICA Medicare contribution. Those would be appropriations in those two separate property tax supported funds based on the amount of vacancies that we've had so far this year. There's more than enough appropriation authority in both of those funds to cover whatever the pension obligation would be as the employer contribution and whatever our FICA Medicare contribution would be necessary for the rest of this year in this position.
But if this is a dedicated fund, why wouldn't we take everything for any employees that are working in this area out of those funds?
Great question. I would say that the way that we've structured our financials over the course of time, we don't do that in any fund. So as an example, the FICA Medicare IMRF costs out of any of the special revenue funds, whether it be the health department, juvenile detention center, so on and so forth, those are funded by the FICA and IMRF levies and in those separate funds. So it would be an inconsistent, if we were to do it here, it would be inconsistent with how we budget for the pension obligations and the FICA Medicare obligations of every other non-general fund position.
Any other questions? Okay, please vote. Okay, that'd be unanimous. Thank you. Next, we have public comment. Miscellaneous. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.